I am the chair of the Roslyn Sustainability Commission. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are hosting this event from the traditional territories of the Synax peoples. The damming of our rivers provides us with an abundance of clean energy, low carbon energy here in BC, but it is really important to remember and to acknowledge the devastating personal and cultural costs that this damming had on the regional First Nations. Our local buy and sell board, Bubble, has done a very good job of curating resources for people if you'd like to dive deeper into the Synax people and learn more about them. There's some great resources there to do that. I'd also like to thank the Energy Task Force members, Margot Lohr and Ken Holmes, for all their help in making these talks possible. So tonight's talk is the 5th in a series of talks we're putting on this winter focused on home energy retrofits. The previous talks the second, third, and fourth are recorded, and they are going to be posted on our sustainability webpage shortly. So if you missed those and would like to see those, you'll be able to access those there. Our 6th and final talk is going to be on March 23rd, and we're going to do a deep dive into a local deep energy retrofit that has happened here in Roslyn over the last year. And we're going to have the builder as well as the homeowner here to walk us through what they did with that retrofit. And I think it'll be, for those who've attended the previous talks, which have been a little bit more theoretical and abstract, this final talk, I think we'll do a very good job of putting all those pieces together, and you can see how one homeowner went about addressing the different important aspects involved in a home energy retrofit. So I think it'll be a real nice bow on top of this series of talks. Again, if you have any feedback, comments, questions, please don't hesitate to get a hold of us. Our contact information is on the bottom of this page. We're subject matter enthusiasts, but not experts. And this is our first time running through these talks. So if you have any advice or comments on how to improve it, please be generous with that. So tonight's talk is on heat pumps. I'm going to just do a quick overview of heat pumps in context of retrofits, home energy retrofits. And then we have Sam and Ellie from CleanBC Energy Coach program here to do a presentation on heat pumps. This isn't their first rodeo, so they know what they're talking about, and I'm looking forward to it. I think there's going to be a lot to learn. And then we're going to close it out with a Q&A where we can open it up. And if your questions haven't been answered by then, we'll invite you to ask them. So there are a lot of reasons to do retrofits, energy retrofits on your home. Occupant health, occupant safety, occupant comfort are some of them. Another major one is global warming. So anthropogenic climate change is finally accepted, and now we're moving forward and trying to figure out the best way to address it. Global scientific consensus is that if we're going to avoid the worst impacts of climate change, we need to get on a 1.5 degree pathway, so try to reduce global warming by 1.5 degrees. This graph shows projections into the future depending on different scenarios. You can see that current policies get us nowhere close to where we need to be. And a 1.5 degree pathway is a real immediate reduction in our carbon footprints. So it's something to keep in mind when thinking about home energy use. So this is a breakdown of our footprints here in Canada, and you can see housing here is a significant percentage of our carbon footprints. It takes up about 1/5 of our greenhouse gas emissions, following only second to transportation. About 83% of a home's life cycle carbon emissions are from its operations. So there are significant opportunities here to address our housing footprint. In BC, about 62% of the energy used in detached homes is for space heating. And because of our clean electricity, a lot of these other aspects of home energy use are already electrified. However, more than 2/3 of British Columbian homes are using natural gas to make up that space heating. And that number is actually growing. The average BC home emits about 2 tons of carbon dioxide in burning that natural gas to heat their homes. This is about equivalent to driving a fossil fuel car 8,000 kilometers or eating meat. Heat pumps play an important role in reducing your home's carbon footprint. They get a lot of attention, and they're sort of the sexy home energy retrofit upgrade, but it's very important to remember that they should fall into a broader effort to reduce home energy needs. So the graph on the right here shows this data is based in BC, or in Ontario, sorry, but the average eco-conscious homeowner uses about 130 kilowatt hours per meter squared per year to heat their home. So that's a thermal energy demand intensity. Step 5, which is building code in BC by 2032 in our zone, requires the use of 25. So if you're looking at your home and you want to reduce your carbon footprint, you say, hey, I'm going to go and buy a heat pump to take up the current heating load that I draw from my furnace and just replace it with electrification, you run into some significant issues. One, the purchase cost of that heat pump to meet current energy demand could be quite significant, significantly higher than if you're buying a heat pump to meet a much lower energy demand, a post-retrofit energy demand. The operation of that heat pump is going to be much higher if you don't reduce your energy demand through retrofits. The difference here is about 5 times, and that can be thousands of dollars a year in electricity cost. And then finally, from a provincial perspective, is that as we move towards electrification of our homes, in our transportation, in our industries, we're going to need a lot of electricity to meet that demand. And how many more Site Cs do we want to build? So if we can first address, go through some of the retrofit processes that we've talked in previous talks to reduce our energy demand, then moving into electrification of our heating becomes much more sustainable from an environmental and an economic perspective in the long run. So just important to keep that in mind, because often heat pumps get a lot of the hype, but it's important to put them in context with the other retrofits that are important. So I'm going to hand it over to Sam and Ellie now. They're, as I mentioned before, CleanBC Energy Coach Program, and they're going to take us through their presentation on heat pumps.
Thank you, Matt, and good evening, everyone. My name's Sam. I'll be monitoring the chat during the webinar today, so I do encourage everyone to use the chat box for any questions. I'll try and stay busy and answer along the way, and then, of course, we'll have things opened up towards the end for more of a live Q&A. So specifically, myself and my colleague Elena will be here talking about rebates and heat pumps, and we're here on behalf of the Community Energy Coach Program, which is really a great program to promote and engage homeowners and government and industry stakeholders in the education of heat pumps. Just as a note, so of course this is being recorded, and today is March 9th, 2022. So all of the rebates that we're discussing today are what's currently available. So rebate programs do change often, so it's always important to get the most up-to-date information. And for that, you'll always want to check out the main website, betterhomesbc.ca. And yeah. Of course, I'd like to also take a moment to acknowledge myself and my colleague were here in Victoria. So we'd like to acknowledge with respect the Coast and Strait Salish and Wassanic peoples on whose traditional unceded territory we are presenting today, as well as the Lekwungen, Songhees, Esquimalt, and Wassanic, whose historical relationship with the land continue to this day. And with that, I'll pass things off to my colleague Ellie now.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Elena Dopfer, go by Ellie as well. Ellie, Elena, both works. I am really excited that so many of you have made it this evening and are keen to learn more about heat pumps. It's a really great presentation series that City of Rosslyn has put up there. And what we're going to talk about today is everything about heat pumps. So we'll get started with why it's important to get a heat pump. But Matt has touched on that, of course. I want to let you know how a heat pump works, what types of heat pumps are most commonly installed here in BC, debunk some heat pump myths, give you some tips on the way that you should know before you buy a heat pump, where to find contractors, and of course, we will talk about all the different rebates that are available today. And in the end, we will have some time for a Q&A session. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to put them in the chat and Sam will help you with that. All right, so why heat pumps? Really, we have this beautiful CleanBC roadmap to 2030. We're also in a climate crisis. So this roadmap tells us to drastically reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 in order to contribute to meeting our 2050 goals and ultimately help, mitigate climate change impacts. And we do that by decarbonizing our buildings. So that means switching away from fossil fuel to more, electrify our buildings. And we do that in using the highest efficiency technology, which in our case, that's heat pumps. Matt also touched on that in buildings in BC actually represent 11% of the province's total emissions. That's quite a big chunk actually. And 54% in our province here of 54% of our homes in the province are heated by fossil fuel still. That's more than a half. They're still heated with fossil fuel and it's time to change that. And that's why we're going to talk about heat pumps today. Future in BC is electric. We are very fortunate that our electricity comes from hydropower, which is considered carbon neutral. So we are trying to shift to an electrification of homes. And among all the different heating systems like electric baseboards, electric furnaces, heat pumps are by far the most energy efficient. They're actually about 3 to 4 times as energy efficient as any other electric heating system. Lots of benefits of heat pumps, just to name a few. It is the most efficient heating and cooling system that you can possibly have in your home. It provides year-round comfort, cooling in the summer, heating in the winter, all in one system. Your home will be more climate friendly if you're switching from a fossil fuel like oil or gas. And heat pumps provide air filtration, so you will achieve an overall healthier home. And without a fossil fuel heating system, you don't pay carbon tax on your heating bills. So let's take a quick closer look at each of those components, and we'll start with the efficiency. Some people say, well, how can a heat pump be 2 to 3 times or 3 to 4 times as energy efficient as any other heating system? So the big difference between a heat pump and a different heating system is that instead of generating heat from scratch, so to speak, heat pumps absorb heat from the ambient air, heat energy that's already available in the ambient air, and use extra electricity to pump it up to a higher temperature level. So the electricity that you pay for is really just to operate the compressor and the fans and everything, to pump heat that's already there to a higher level and transfer it to the inside of your home. So in short, a heat pump moves heat from one place to another instead of generating heat from scratch like a gas furnace would do or electric baseboards would do. And among those electric heating systems, because it is so much more efficient, it's also by far the most cost-effective electric heating option. So it will use significantly less electricity than electric baseboards, for example, to heat your home to the same temperature. And last year, we have all lived through the heat dome. I personally, it was so severe in my home that I actually took my tent and I camped in my yard for 3 days because I couldn't even be in my bedroom for more than 10 minutes. So it was pretty severe. I'm sure in Roslyn it was very horrible too. And I wish I had a heat pump to keep me cool. I was very jealous of all the people in my life who I knew had heat pumps. They had a lot of guests during the heat dome who would gather and enjoy the air conditioning in that house. So unfortunately, that is the reality of our summers at the moment. And heat pumps can really help you be a lot more comfortable in your homes in the summer. And then, of course, climate friendly, that aspect. So it's really no secret that a home that is heated with oil has significant greenhouse gas emissions, but even in comparison, natural gas, still the greenhouse gas emissions are quite significant in comparison to an electric heating system. So heat pumps, since it uses hydroelectricity, the greenhouse gas emissions are a lot lower, and that in combination with the energy efficiency of a heat pump makes it by far the most climate friendly way to heat our homes here in BC. And another sad companion of climate change is the forest fires that we're experiencing in our summers at these days, and the smoke. So heat pumps do provide very effective air filtration, and that can really help your home not only, rid your home of indoor pollutants, dust, pollen, allergens, if you have any people in your home that suffer from allergies, but also during forest fire season, this comes in very handy to keep your home nice and healthy. And for certain types of heat pumps, they're ductless heat pumps, and they provide zonal heating. Zonal heating is basically heating different parts of the room to different temperature levels. And that is a really great option if you have a basement suite or an in-law suite, or you want to heat your bedrooms to a different temperature level than your office and your living room. So ductless heat pumps are a great option for that, and I will introduce them in a bit. And heat pumps are generally very easy to use, actually. They use the set it and forget it principle that I will talk about later. And generally, they're pretty low maintenance and provide efficient air conditioning and heating for your home. Now, for those of you who do heat with wood or even rely on wood, their heat pumps are a really great option if you don't have any pre-existing ductwork in the home. For example, this gentleman who lives here in the capital region in Saanich, he was relying on his wood heating system and was just sick and tired of hauling wood into the home, making fires. And he installed a mini split heat pump. That's a ductless heat pump. You see the indoor head in the background of the picture. And now he enjoys wood just for ambience. And then really, quite frankly, to summarize that, heat pumps simply are the heating system of the future. This is where we're going. This is where our policies are going. And this couple here from Saanich, for them, it was really important to make their home fit for the future, resilient for climate change. So to them, it was important to really insulate their home, make it airtight, put solar panels on the roof. They have an electric vehicle, but also they switched their heating system from fossil fuel to a heat pump. And so you could pretty much say the heat pump is the Tesla of the energy efficiency upgrades or the heating upgrades. Okay, lots of benefits of heat pumps. It's a great system, but how does it actually work? And it's pretty simple to explain because you all probably have a heat pump at home, one or two. And a heat pump really is like your refrigerator. Your refrigerator is an insulated box with a type of heat pump in it, and I will explain to you how. So there in your fridge, there is refrigerant lines that gives it the name, and those refrigerant or that refrigerant in those lines absorb heat from the ambient air in your refrigerator, pump it through this compressor that pumps it up to a higher temperature level and releases it to the back of your fridge. And yeah, and that way it cools your vegetables and your groceries. And a heat pump pretty much works very similar. And actually, I know that BC Hydro, even though you get your electricity, or most of you get your electricity from Fortis, BC Hydro has a really great video with Dave here.
Hey, it's me, Dave, and this is a heat pump. It's an energy-efficient heating and cooling system you can install at home. How does it work? Here, let me show you. Your typical air source heat pump, like this mini split system, has two main components, an indoor and an outdoor unit, which are connected by a refrigerant line. To heat your home in the winter, the outdoor unit pulls heat from the air outside your home. Yes, believe it or not, even when it's cold, outside air still contains a certain amount of heat. The warm air then goes through a refrigerant coolant that is compressed to increase the temperature even more. This warm air is then pushed through to the home. In the summer, to cool your home, the process is reversed. The heat pump absorbs the warm air in your home and transfers it outside. The compressor circulates refrigerant to the indoor evaporator coil, and the refrigerant absorbs heat as it passes over the indoor air. The resulting cool and dehumidified air then gets blown back into the home. And that's how a heat pump works. The key here is that heat pumps don't generate heat, but instead they move it from one place to another, which is why heat pumps are so energy efficient. In fact, a heat pump can be up to 300% more efficient than electric baseboards. So if you already have electric heat, a heat pump can help you save on your energy bill. Less energy and more savings? I like. If you're switching from a fossil fuel-based heating source like a natural gas furnace, you'll be reducing your carbon footprint. It's kind of like going from a size 18 down to a size 2. You get the idea. It's an environmentally friendly option, especially here in BC where we're powered by water. Plus, with rebates from CleanBC and BC Hydro, there's more to save.
All right, thank you, Dave. Yeah, with that, that is how a heat pump works. And now I want to show you what kind of heat pumps are most commonly installed here in BC. And the first one is a central ducted heat pump. So as the name says, it uses ductwork throughout the home, so it's very suitable for homes that already have pre-existing furnaces. It comes with an outdoor unit that usually looks somewhat like this, and then connects with refrigerant lines to your air handler inside that is connected to ductwork. It absorbs heat from the ambient air, transfers it into your home. There are among heat pumps, there's cold climate heat pumps with this really fancy acronym here. And cold climate heat pumps might be a really great solution for you in Rossland. They work efficiently in conditions down to even -25 degrees. They maintain an efficiency of over 200%, so that's twice as energy efficient as electric baseboards at even -18 degrees outside. Depends on the heat pump, of course. So definitely when you reach out to contractors, ask for cold climate heat pumps if they carry cold climate heat pumps and what their efficiency ratings are at different temperatures. Yeah, why is a cold climate heat pump so different, or what is it? Basically, it just combines variable speed compressors with improved heat exchangers. So all the components are just overall better, and it maximizes the heating capacity at colder temperatures. So it just simply works better at colder temperatures and maintains high efficiencies during milder conditions. Then among those central systems, we also have dual fuel ducted heat pumps. So dual fuel basically just stands for you have a gas or propane furnace and you integrate that with a heat pump. The heat pump functions as the primary heating system and the gas furnace is a backup. There are rebates for that through CleanBC, and we will take a look at that later. So that could be an option as well. And for those of you who might not have ductwork in your home, mini split or ductless heat pumps are a really great option. So they usually have a smaller outdoor unit and then they connect through refrigerant lines to the inside of your home. And often it's one or multiple indoor heads that are mounted on the wall, just like I showed you earlier with Lauren from Saanich, who switched from wood to a mini split. And you just control it with this remote control. And among those mini split heat pumps, there are actually even ducted mini split ones. So there is actually a totally different configurations of how you can use mini splits. So here, for example, in this picture, it's a little bit busy, but you see that it has this outdoor unit and then it connects to this larger living room with an indoor head for the whole living room. And then for the odd bedrooms and washrooms in the upper floor, it connects to these small mini ducts that are often installed in an attic or in a crawl space. So there's a lot of different options for your home specific needs. Oh, yeah, and this is a picture of what that ductwork in the attic can look like. Mini splits often have all kinds of different names. So sometimes they're referred to as mini split or a multi-split or just a split system. But that generally means that it comes with indoor heads and or those mini ducts. Just to quickly kind of compare the central systems and the mini splits, both provide air conditioning, both provide heating. Only with a ductless heat pump, you can achieve zonal heating where you heat part of the homes to different temperature levels. And only the central system requires ductwork. Both those heat pumps provide air filtration and dehumidification. But generally speaking, you know, if you have a home that has pre-existing ductwork for a furnace that is in good shape, then a central system might be a great option. However, if you live in a home and you were heating with electric baseboards or a wood stove primarily, then a mini split might be a great option, or if you have that need for zonal heating. And then let's debunk some heat pump myths. So the first one is heat pumps are expensive to purchase. So we get that question a lot. How much is it going to cost for my heat pump? And it is one of those annoying, well, it highly depends answers, but it truly does highly depend. So we get some data from a rebate program where the range of a natural gas furnace was around between 6,000 and 18,000, and the range of a heat pump was also extremely broad, so between $12,000 and $27,000 with a rough average, although since the range is so broad, your average is really just a rough ballpark. But at the moment, the rebates are really amazing for heat pumps. We'll get into that later on. And after rebates, the cost of a heat pump and a gas furnace are a lot more comparable. And with a heat pump, you get a 2-in-1 air conditioning heating system. And of course, you drastically lower your greenhouse gas emissions if you switch from a fossil fuel. Another very common concern is that heat pumps are noisy. So heat pumps do make sound, but the modern heat pumps, their noise levels are around 50 to 60 decibels. That is very comparable to a dryer, or even a flushing toilet is a lot louder. And that is really when you stand right next to the heat pump. So modern models are a lot more quiet. And there's a lot of tricks. So you can ask your contractor if noise is really a concern. Ask your contractor about the decibel ratings of the heat pumps they carry. There's a lot of tricks where you can put heat pumps on rubber mats or work with hedges around the system. And actually, the city of Vancouver has a really great heat pump and noise FAQ. It looks like this, and it is linked. You will get access to this document where they explain where a heat pump should be placed in an ideal scenario, and a lot of other tips that you could ask your contractor for. So yeah, here you mainly put a heat pump in the rear yard, not right underneath a bedroom window, ideally not in the front yard, and there's a lot of tips and tricks. So I highly recommend reading through that document if you are really concerned about noise. And then we hear a lot, heat pumps need a lot more maintenance than other heating systems, but really pretty much every heating system requires regular maintenance. Maybe, electric baseboards a little less than others, but generally speaking, heat pumps are pretty low maintenance, and it's just important that you schedule a maintenance appointment every year, every 2 years with your installer to make sure that the refrigerant lines are still fine and that everything is good, and you replace the filters every once in a while after forest fire season and so on. Another very, very common question that we hear is, well, how much is it going to be to operate my heat pump? And this is a very hard question to answer because the operating cost of your heat pump will depend on so many different factors. It depends on the size, layout of your home. How well is your home insulated? How airtight is your home? What's your home's heating infrastructure? What type of heat pump do you get? Do you get a cold climate heat pump or a standard heat pump? And yeah, how do you use the heat pump? So what I can say is that you will be able to expect changes to your electricity bill. So if you are switching from a fossil fuel, you will see an increase in your electricity consumption because now you're heating and cooling with electricity. But that will usually be offset by a decrease in your fossil fuel consumption. And if you switch from an electric heating system to a heat pump, then you will very likely see a decrease in your heating bills because now you heat with a lot more efficient heating system. And then also it really depends on the quality of installation, so that is also important. And as Matt said in the very beginning, and I cannot emphasize that enough, that it's very, very important that heat pumps should be done in combination with other home energy retrofits. And that would be prioritizing your building envelope first. You want to know, is my home well insulated? Do I have good windows? Is it nice and airtight? Or am I going to lose all this efficient heat, so to speak, to the outside? So that will obviously drastically lower your bills as well, regardless of the type of heating system that you get. So yeah, heat pump provides maximum efficiency and comparable costs. And really what you want to achieve is having a high efficiency heat pump that's been well installed by a qualified installer in an energy efficient home. So in a home that's not completely leaky. In terms of maintenance considerations, we kind of went over that earlier. Check the manufacturer's manual. Nobody loves to read manuals, but just do it once. Clean or replace the filters after forest fire season, after summers. If you have a mini split, check the remote control and the batteries. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Seasonally, so in the spring and fall, ideally, you want to clear that outdoor unit of any debris, leaves, snow, dirt. And then, like I said earlier, annually schedule a service appointment with your installer to make sure that the refrigerant flow is fine. And then I got some operation tips as well. So earlier I said in one of the pictures, Heat pumps use the set it and forget it principle. So set it and forget it just means that a heat pump runs the most energy efficiently if you set it to your preferred thermostat level, let's say 21 degrees, and you leave it there. A lot of people who weren't really educated in how to use your heat pump they think they're doing something good for their heat pump if they leave the house and they say, okay, I'm just going to shut the heat pump down. I'm going to save even more electricity that way. But that's actually not true, because a heat pump doesn't just burn a fuel and just kick on and blast blasts of hot air into your home. A heat pump has to absorb heat from one place, go through the compressor, and then transfer it to the home. That actually takes quite a while to get the heat pump going and get to that certain temperature level. So it actually is more energy efficient if you just keep it on your preferred temperature level and just leave it there. Then it will run more efficiently than if you turn it up and down a lot. And then, of course, the myth, heat pumps don't work in cold weather. While it is true that the efficiency of a heat pump will decrease with decreasing temperatures, because in colder temperatures, there's less heat energy available than in warmer temperatures, obviously. However, I explained that there are cold climate heat pumps, and those cold climate heat pumps, they work as low as -25 degrees. And there's examples of heat pumps all around North America. For example, this one here, -13 degrees Fahrenheit. For those of you who don't speak Fahrenheit, that is -25 degrees in Colorado, and this heat pump heats this home just fine. Or we got here these heat pumps in New England that are advertised, and those winters average at around -8 degrees Celsius. And even here in Canada, we got Efficiency Nova Scotia, and they offer rebates for heat pumps as well, and their winters are, around -18 degrees Celsius, and they primarily install those cold climate heat pumps that I was talking about. Okay, so I hope you're convinced that it's a good idea to look into a heat pump, but what should you be looking into? Well, here are my tips. First and foremost, very important to go with a qualified installer. We recommend to avoid buying wholesale or online. You want to really get that installed by someone who ideally specializes in heat pumps, and get multiple quotes from different contractors to compare availability, the efficiency, and of course the cost of installation. And as I mentioned earlier, your heat pump will really only be as good as your home is. So make sure that your house is nice and airtight, that you fix insulation issues, and replace those single pane windows that you might have, so your home works as a system. Building envelope first, then the heat pump. And then it is important that you choose a heat pump that's properly sized for your home and designed for your climate. So we here in Victoria will probably not need a cold climate heat pump. You guys in Rossland might want to look into that. And also a heat pump that may include supplementary heating if that is something that's necessary for you. So for those reasons, we do recommend starting with an EnerGuide home evaluation that not only gives you access to the federal rebate program that we'll discuss later, but also it gives you a really good idea about your home as a system. What kind of upgrades should you prioritize before you get a new heating system installed? Finding heat pump contractors, one great resource is our CleanBC Better Homes website. That's what it looks like. You can find it through the menu button or under this direct link, betterhomesbc.ca/find a contractor. And you can search by location for heat pump installers. And of course, the Better Business Bureau is a really great resource, but also word of mouth is very strong. If you know people who were really happy with their heat pump installer, that is great. Has always been a great resource, will be a great resource. And now we have come to available rebates. I'm going to take a sip of water because we're definitely in for a ride. Okay, so before we jump into the rebates, little disclaimer. So first of all, the rebates that we're going to discuss are available as of today, March 9th, 2022. Rebates come and go, amounts change. So if you're watching this a year from now, then definitely check the website that I will introduce for all the current rebates available. And second disclaimer is what we're going to discuss is a lot of information. Great rebates out there, but they come with, all kinds of terms and conditions. So you might get a little bit overwhelmed by all this information that I'm throwing at you in a second. But don't worry, I'm happy to answer questions after the webinar, and I will share the CleanBC Energy Coach service with you, which is an amazing resource that you can call or email if you have any questions. All right, let's jump right into it. Very important, 2 programs are available to you for getting heat pump rebates. We got our provincial CleanBC rebates, CleanBC Better Homes, and we got a different program, federal Canada Greener Homes Grant. So they're completely separate. They have their own terms and conditions, own rules, own deadlines, but you can access both programs, which is great, up to 100% of the cost of your heat pump. Next slide is a lot of numbers. A general overview of the types of rebates that are currently available through both programs. So let's take a closer look. Here in the upgrade section, you see the different types of heat pumps. So you might recognize those ductless mini split heat pumps, the central systems with ductwork. We got the dual fuel heat pump that uses fossil fuel as backup. And we even got air to water heat pumps, which are basically, instead of forced air, it's in-floor heating or using radiators. And what we got here is for folks who switch from an electric heating system, like electric baseboards or an electric furnace, to heat pumps, there's rebates between $1,200 and $7,000 available through both programs. And then for those of you who switch from a fossil fuel, so oil, gas, propane, to a heat pump, the rebates are between $3,000 and $8,000. So that's a really great rebate. Where do you find all those rebates? Where do you find the information? We have a one-stop shop for you. So this is a provincial program called CleanBC Better Homes. And this is your main information hub that is completely unbiased, where you can find the information about all the rebates, not only provincial, federal, municipal, through the rebate search tool on here. And you can get on that website at betterhomesbc.ca. This website comes with a really great energy coach team. So you can actually call those energy coaches from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 under this number, toll free, and they really know their stuff about rebates. So you can let them know, I don't know where to get started. I don't know where to find rebates and how to apply. So they can help you with that. So if you have any questions, I highly encourage you to email or call them. And the CleanBC Better Homes website, like I said, has a great rebate search tool. In the rebate search tool, you just type in that you live in Roslyn, for example, and you heat with natural gas. And it will give you all kinds of rebates that you could possibly access. And when you click on one of them, for example, central system here, when you click on that, it will give you a summary page of that rebate that has all the information you need in order to get this rebate. So what are the requirements? What are the deadlines? Where do I apply? What do I need to know? And for the provincial CleanBC rebates, just some general eligibility criteria. It is only available for single-family homes. So that's, single-family homes, side-by-side row homes or duplexes, mobile homes on permanent foundation. It's not available for condos or multi-unit residential buildings. And your heat pump has to become the primary heating system. So you can't just get a rebate for an air conditioner. And your heat pump has to be on a qualifying product list. It doesn't automatically qualify just because it's a heat pump. On the next few slides, I will show you some rebate amounts going from different kind of heating systems. So it's a lot of information, but you will have access to those slides. So if you are in FortisBC electric territory, which I think most of you are, the rebate for a mini split single head heat pump, so only one indoor head, switching from electricity is $1,200. If you have multiple heads, it's $2,000. And if you have a little bit less efficient ducted heat pump, call them tier 1, it's $1,200. If you go with a tier 2 completely ducted heat pump, it's $2,000. If you're in BC hydroelectric territory, then the rebate amounts will be a little bit different. And you cannot replace an existing heat pump with a new heat pump for this program. You can only replace electric baseboards or electric furnaces. Now, if you switch from a fossil fuel, the rebates are higher. Fossil fuel just means oil, gas, or propane. And for mini splits or central systems, there is a $3,000 rebate. Again, that's in FortisBC electric territory. If you're in BC hydro territory, that the rebate amounts will differ a little bit. And this is just for some other types of heat pumps. So those dual fuel systems with gas backup or in-floor heating heat pumps, the rebates are here as well. And in some cases where you switch from a fossil fuel heating system, you might have to upgrade your electrical panel. And if that's the case, in combination with a heat pump, you can get a $500 rebate towards that cost. So that's the CleanBC rebate. And if you don't like that rebate structure where you basically pay upfront and then you get reimbursed, there is an alternative, and that is the heat pump low interest financing program through CleanBC. What it does is, if you basically can finance your heat pump at 0% over 5 years, loans are between $1,000 and $40,000, and you can either do the financing or the heat pump rebate, but not both. So if you prefer financing, then that's a great option. However, your heat pump has to be installed by a finance registered contractor who is registered with this program to set you up with the loan. And you can only do the financing if you switch from a fossil fuel to a heat pump. Another really great little add-on program to the CleanBC rebates is the group purchase rebate. That's only available for you if you switch from a fossil fuel. And the great thing about the group purchase rebate is if you and your neighbors or friends or coworkers, whoever, get together and get a heat pump installed around the same time, you can register as a group, and each group member can get up to $500 more in rebates. So if you, for example, have 6 people who all are going to install a heat pump around the same time, every single one of you can get an extra $275 if you register as a group and all use your group purchase rebate code when you apply for the rebate. And this is a very, very new program among the CleanBC programs. I think it launched just a week ago or so. It is basically an income qualified version of the heat pump rebate. So if you, it's based on the number of people in a household over the age of 18. And if, yeah, and then based on the income threshold, pre-tax annual income, you may qualify for the income qualified version. And the great thing about that is that it covers 60 to 95% of your home upgrade costs. So for example, your heat pump cost. So 60% if you're income level 2, and 95% if you're in income level 1. And for the heat pump, that means up to $9,500 when switching from a fossil fuel, and up to $5,000 when switching from electric baseboards. Those upgrades for the income qualified version have to be installed by a program registered contractor. And the way this works is you don't get the rebate after. The contractor will submit the rebate for you and deduct the rebate from your final cost. So you basically get a reduction, a discount before you pay for your heat pump. So yeah, income qualified version is a great alternative to the rebates if you fall into those income thresholds. And you can find all that information on the CleanBC website. And then now we're moving from CleanBC to Canada Greener Homes. So earlier I mentioned there's the provincial rebates, and then we got the federal Canada Greener Homes grant program, and that is a completely separate program. What Canada Greener Homes does is they have up to $5,000 towards all kinds of upgrades like insulation, windows, heat pumps, and they offer $600 towards the cost of an EnerGuide home evaluation, because for this program, you have to do an EnerGuide home evaluation before and after doing upgrades. The heat pump grants range between $2,500 and $5,000, depending on the type of heat pump you install. And the great thing is you can get both CleanBC rebates and Canada Greener Homes up to 100% of the total cost. The only thing that you really need to know here is that if you get a mini split heat pump that only has one indoor head, it doesn't qualify for Canada Greener Homes. But for the rest of the heat pumps, it ranges between $2,500 and $5,000. Okay, so how do I get both programs, CleanBC and Canada Greener Homes? You get both programs by starting with an EnerGuide home evaluation, because it is a requirement for Canada Greener Homes, so you have to do it. And for Canada Greener Homes, you have to register with that program online. And then I highly recommend, once you've done your evaluation and you're registered, just call an energy coach and have them tell you, okay, what's the next step? How do I make sure my heat pump will qualify for the programs? Make sure that you review all the requirements for both programs, because they have 2 sets of requirements. Energy coaches can help you through that. CleanBC rebates have a 6 months deadline to apply. Canada Greener Homes, they don't have a deadline, but you have to do a pre-retrofit EnerGuide home evaluation and one after installing upgrades, and then you apply. So you see there's a lot of deadlines and requirements to navigate, and that's exactly why I'll say it again, call an energy coach to discuss your specific situation, your scenario, your different application steps. This phone number is toll-free. You can also email them. And Canada Greener Homes comes with their own client services. They have their own phone number, and they also have the world's longest email address that I've ever seen that you can email. So yeah, if you feel a little bit confused, feel free to call those coaches. And with that, that actually brings me to the end of our presentation. I want to thank you so much for your attention and for your time. I truly hope that you know more about heat pumps than an hour ago. And I am happy to answer some questions with Sam.